expose the front legs. Well, that happened because I had a dog with very good front legs, and she had a dog with very bad front legs. And I cut all the hair off of my dog's front legs. And I caught her a couple of times until she figured out a way to make her front legs look straighter by cutting some hair off and leaving some hair on. And I cut all the hair off of my feet, and I beat her some more. You know, and it went this way, and it was that kind of competition. And it did very well so long as we were knocking heads against each other, and so long as all the English Cocker, the stiff English Cocker competition of group and best of show dogs was in the East. But when they started to become popular and get all over, people went back to the hair bear syndrome again. And then along came Bonnie. And Bonnie really turned everybody around with her presentation of the English Cocker, of trimming it to the line so that you could see the dog, of having exposed front legs, of having tightly trimmed feet. She set a precedent which everybody now, thankfully, is following. And we have gotten away from that overcoated hair bear look. And look at this bitch. You're sitting here saying, isn't that funny that the hair's all over? This was perfectly normal in the old days, and you know, you even left the tufts out here because it was hair, and wasn't that wonderful? Where today, you get a fairly sparse coat, as the black and white bitch has, and instead of praying over those wisps, they're trimmed off. You can see her lovely straight front legs, you can see her nice feet. The hindquarters are trimmed so that you can see down the back of the stifle. It's even trimmed off the front of the stifle. And every hair today on an English Cocker is trimmed not to the detraction of the breed, but in order to present it as a smooth, workmanlike, sporting dog that can, you know, really, in most cases, get out, be used in the field 1 week, and I'm not talking about field trials, but can find birds for you 1 week with a little bit of Pam or spray oil sprayed in their feathers, washed out and shown the next week. And I think that that's a wonderful thing for the breed and keeping it from going the way of all flesh of our sporting dogs that do grow coat and that grow too much coat. I'll take a break now, and then I will love to have people ask questions. I don't care what kind of questions they are. If I don't know the answer, I'll make them up. Come up, put your hands on dogs, ask questions, do all those kind of things.
That speed earlier.
Yeah.
Reasonably speaking, these dogs are short range.
Right.
To be competitive in the sporting world, you don't throw your head up, flatten out the top line, and breakneck speeds around the ring. They just go, like English dogs, how
Don't pinch that dog. Don't pinch that dog. You know, you've asked a question that has to do with being competitive.
But do we compete and fall in the line where, let's do like let's do so we can win, or do we back us like you did and say, okay, look, this dog needs to do what it was bred to do, and it looks like it was bred to do.
But think about Major, who was not the farthest ranging dog that you ever had, and yet he got up and moved adequately because he went willingly.
He went way too fast for what my impression of the breed should go.
Have you ever seen him in England? You know, this business of English Cockers, and people come over from England and say, oh, they're not English Cockers, they're American English Cockers, I can't deal with. The post-war, when they were like small springers with springer bones and springer faces and springer feet, to the last time that Jim and I were in England, and we saw an open class of 45, and not one of them would do a broad home because not one of them could put their tail up. They were so short and so sloped and croup. They were not the Merry Cocker. They crippled their way up one side of the ring, and they crippled their way back to the other side of the ring, and they were dreadful. That was the same year that we saw Starshine, who was one of the top winning English Cockers since the war. She was a bitch. Not as tall as that bitch. her mouth, and somebody said, "What are you doing? Looking for tonsils?" I'm saying, "I'm seeing what size bird could fit in there. A sparrow, perhaps?" She was very tipped and croup, and when she moved, she went 1,000,000 miles an hour. She had to go 1,000,000 miles an hour because she took 1,000,000 steps. She was going like that, and everybody said, "That's so wonderful. That's the bustling English cocker. That's what you want to breed." Well, you couldn't have finished her in this country, and you shouldn't have finished her in this country. A bustling English cocker that bustles and can't pick up a sparrow is like a bustling American cocker. You've got to run that fine line between being competitive, having a dog of the proper type, of the proper size, of the proper amount of angles at both ends, who is a willing mover, who you can show properly on the people that require properness, and you can show like a damn fool on the people that require them to be damn fool. It's a tall order, but it's done.
And you know not to
You have to speak up because everybody's. I mean, we got boxer people and everything.
I wonder if you could discuss the differences in public
In England, particularly, solid color English cockers and party color English cockers are almost separate breeds. They don't resemble each other. The solids, particularly the blacks, are very, very heavy coated. They're very narrow in chest. You can barely get 2 fingers in between their front leg. They have, I love you too, they have tremendous heads. They are very, very, very heavy coated. Whereas the party color, the black and white cockers that you see in this country are, the good ones are very similar in type to this bitch. And your blues generally are more the type of that bitch, but just a little bit bigger. But as far as the difference between the solids and the party colors, it's almost the difference in the breed. If you ever get carried away to say, red dog's the best dog we've ever seen, and that's exactly what my blue bitch needs, is his attitude and his top line and so on. You're never going to get it in the first generation or in the second or in the third, because it's almost like breeding Springers to Field Spaniels. They're that far apart on their gene pool. Plus the fact that you screw up your color terribly. You get into solid heads, Springer legs, solid Springer legs, not even torn patches over their body, you know, almost black saddles with white legs and stuff.
In the first generation, they're usually all solid.
They have to be all solid, because solid is dominant, unless you have a hybrid solid. But your first cross, they'll all be solid, probably with white shirt fronts and maybe some white toes. Well, depending on how you then breed them. Because you can breed to there are some hybrid solids around that do carry the proper pattern and so on, but it's not something we undertake lightly. And yet you look at the red dog that's doing the winning today, and he's got much more of a party colored head than he has a red head. Yeah. And the blacks are just generally much more overpowering than that. Generally good planes, but very, very... I love you. Yes, I do. Tremendous amount of force.
She's for sale.
Well, correct tail set as in the standard, in our standard, and in the English standard, it says, it doesn't say it should come off the level of the back. It says that the croup should be gently rounded, and then the tail should
Off the top. So what does that mean?
What does it mean? It means that, given a choice of the words of the standard concerning a tail set, and that kind of a tail set and carriage, I will opt for this type of tail set and carriage all the time. The one where the croup is tipped, inclines to throw the legs underneath them, inclines to keep them from having any kind of a kick or a follow through, and I don't want a big high flyaway poodle kick. And the smoothness of the tail coming off the back, which is like the smoothness of a setter coming off the back or a pointer coming off the back, I think it's prettier. And it's certainly much more what we require in our dog shows here. We don't have to do this with them. I think that's hideous. And they don't have to carry them that way. But I do think that finish is the kind of tail set that we like to see, and we also like to see that kind of hindquarter function without the inhibiting business of the very tip. Come up, come up.
Is Annie doing good? Let her know it. She's a good girl.
No, but and then carry this way. Yeah, but that doesn't bother me. So if the tail is carried like that, it doesn't bother me at all. No. Not as a general rule. You know, you're going to find the odd one.
Don't you feel that you get a better muscling, upper muscling here though? I can't hear.
What do you call a proper tail set, though? No, but it's not what the standard calls
No,
for.
it's not exactly.
But this lady is saying that maybe with a slightly lower tail set, you get a more rounded rear. And I think that has to do with the individual dog, not necessarily the tail set. Because you think about the dogs that carry their tail, think about terriers that carry their tail straight up and the amount of muscle they have in their back. And I don't think that one goes with the other particularly. More. I think that the question is it overlooked by judges or by people? Well, don't throw things at judges all the time. Breeders too. That you get these little skinny rump dogs that then look settery and not cockery. And I think it's overlooked by people who are not really interested in the breed. And by being interested in the breed, I'm talking about having the problems in the breed that we all face who love the breed, know the breed, and breed the breed. Knowing where your muscle mass is, the width of pelvis on a bitch, particularly a little bitch, means an awful lot when you're talking about breeding puppies. And you don't want them little, you don't want anything, a poodle, and anything a little smack-dash thing like that. Oh, I expected everybody to be jumping up and down and hitting each other by now. Yes, sir.
I'm new in English Cockers, but
Are you new in dogs?
no.
Well, then talk to me about angulation.
To me, I'm saying what I would consider too severe in angulation. Dogs almost look mechanical in the ring.
And by mechanical, do you mean that they're not extending and straightening out their hock when they're moving and that they're keeping them sickled and they're just going back and forth like a mechanical doll? Is that what you're talking about?
Right.
Well, that's overangulation.
And to me, they make an absolutely gorgeous picture when stacked, but moving,
But that's another nice thing it says in the new standard. If you'll read it for me about
In the ring, he carries his head proudly and is able to keep much the same top line while in action as when standing perfectly.
which means not only the same top line, but the whole look. That almost any good dog of any breed, if you find one that, you know, is just sparkling and saying, I am the next great one that you have just found, standing there, and then you watch it and you say, all right, I want to see the class go around, and that dog goes round and makes the same picture going around what he did standing there, that probably is the best dog that you found today. Because normally, I used to watch Teddy Young. We're great friends and we've traveled together for years and so on, and you would get any American cocker that you ever knew, the biggest piece of junk that he took for gas money. And by the time he got it trimmed, by the time he got it in the ring, by the time he got it all tucked up and his elbows out and pushed together and pulled together. That was the most beautiful American Cockney you ever saw. And I used to get the biggest charge out of it when we were traveling together and handling together. And then he started showing these buggers under me, and it used to make me so mad. Because I would say, as I was going over the dog, Teddy, don't work so hard, because the minute it walks, it's going to fall apart. And sure, the minute it walked, the top line went down, and the legs went to hell, and the whole thing went crazy. They've got to have, no matter what breed, they've got to make the same picture going around. They do standing still, because it's the sum total of all the parts when they go.
What would you do for education at this point in the breed? To the new people, because it's getting too popular.
But I think there's much more.
Where should it come from? Because type is the problem.
I think there's much more to point people to today as far as education is concerned in the breed than there ever was before. We've got a halfway decent video. We've got handbooks. We've got a very active club. If anybody who is interested in the breed buys the blue book and reads that first blue book from cover to cover, they are going to know where the breed has come from, what's gone into the gene pool, the pitfalls. I mean, they're all there with all the pictures of the old dogs. And we're in a far better position today now than we were 25 years ago when this popularity of the breed started. And we've got very strong people in the breed. We've got yourself, you've got Bonnie, you've got a variety of people. Their ideas may be different from yours, but they have a point of view that they can back up, and they're articulate when they talk about it. And there are many people that you can go to and say, hey, I don't understand this, I'm one of them. There are a variety of people.
Isn't this something that maybe the country club could,
Can't hear you.
when they're having, like, say their puppy fun matches or something like that, where they can have older specimens for the new people that are coming in and say, this is what we like to see and how we like to see it, along those lines, where they're going to be, having people that are new in the breed that have younger dogs.
But remember also what I said to you about the video. We've got a pretty decent club video. We've got a very, very active club that writes reams and reams and reams of stuff on breeding and puppy raising and so on. And we're in much better shape than, 50 or 100 breeds that I can think of. That just don't have the interest of the people. Yes?
Let's assume, I realize that each part is some whole dog. So let's assume that the value for the head, the neck, the shoulders, the front, the top line, everything. Approximate values on, we don't just look at the head and go, a beautiful head.
No, that's why I said to you, I don't know why I started with the head up here. I think I was a little nervous or something, because I never do. I start with a total picture.
Approximate value on where should the emphasis on English Cockers.
If you don't have balance and proportion, you don't have the breed.
If you don't have height, you don't have balance and proportion.
That's right.
What do you look for?
You look at the next dog.
You said one dog against the other dog.
No.
You judge them against the standard.
Judge it against the standard. And you got 15 lined up in here. You walk down and you look and you say to yourself, those first two are helpful. Those next three should have stayed home. There's one down at the end that looks like a heck of a good one. And your first mind business is to judge on you. Make your first cut on type. You put up your soundness and your typical specimens. It's the only thing you can do. You don't have balance and proportion. You don't have the breed. You don't have the breed. You don't have the type.
Let's take, and I'm looking at judging the breed. I'm taking 5 dogs in breed. One is extremely type, a little black and white measurement. Let's take this one white dog. Let's take 2 other dogs.
See you later.
Totally different type. AKC would like to see similar dogs.
Oh, only if you can. Only if you can.
So they look around and they think, well, that dog you put up first, he's very tight. So the other one, not very tight.
That's all Katie had to work with.
Let's assume though, let's back up there with that. Let's assume that we don't have these dogs here. No, let's assume you've got a nice typey dog, 3 mediocre dogs, and a bad dog. Typey dog looks real good. Kenny Young's had it like typey dog. The typey dog takes off, flies around the room, it's top line because it's got its front end right off the earth, and it's flying right against the other.
is very tightly and it has balance and proportion and has a problem, you know, one place or the other as far as movement is concerned.
I agree, but I'm saying,
Would you breed any one of the other four?
but tight adoption is a relative thing. I think that's one thing we're trying to establish is what is English Cocker type.
No, but there are a variety of English Cocker types. All socially acceptable. We talk about type in blacks and in party colors and so on. You know, you would agree to that, wouldn't you?
Color genetics are,
Huh?
color genetics make up the structure of the breed, or of the dog. The black dog is not going to look like a party dog.
You know, the Ranger dog and the American dog. They're both acceptable breeds. They're both on either end of the spectrum. And it's hard to say which one is better.
Well, then you say to yourself, okay, I've got two dogs on either end of the spectrum, because I do this all the time. Whether I'm supposed to or not, that remains to be seen. There's two dogs standing here that are on either end of the spectrum. We'll take it away from English Cocker, we're talking about miniature Schnauzers. They're both absolutely acceptable types. They're both within standard. They both have good mouths and so on and so on and so on. And one dog has an outstanding hindquarter, and the other dog has an outstanding front. The breed is full of outstanding hindquarters today. And where the breed should be pushed forward to is to that front. So I'm going to say, by my judging, hey guys, I judge this breed all over the country. We've got a million hindquarters like that. That's one of the few fronts that I've seen in the breed. That dog is going to be first today. And when the man that has the one that's second comes, and when the man comes back to me, said, I thought you'd like my dog. And I said, I did like your dog, but the other dog is such a gorgeous front. And the fronts in this breed are so bad today that that's where the emphasis is going to be put today.
And then he says to you, but his rear end stinks.
But your front end stinks.
Well, you know, that's what the comeback is going to be.
I know,
and,
but I know.
I know you're the one marking the book. How do you say, hey, it's me marking the book, and that's my decision today?
True. Because you say it. Well, I think people understand rear ends more easily than they understand fronts. They don't understand what makes a front. In my opinion, in any breed, the whole dog is hung on its front end. It's not hung on its hind end. I mean, how its neck set, how its stop line is, how it can move in front, all starts at the because it's easily detected. It's the first thing people, that dog's cowhide. That's terrible. Yes. You got the same ear here. But it doesn't bother you because it's a top.
But she doesn't have what I call like a bubble.
What?
Well, this looks like a big, you drop in here, it'll be a little small, and this one's not even that small. This has like a big bubble by her chest. So this one's back here.
Very prevalent. Just like that, it did not fold. I remember the first time I ever did juniors at the garden. It was not the big deal it is now. And I can't remember whether I was still handling or not. And it was done last night. And the powers that be at the garden said, now, we'll have a few juniors. Go ahead and do them while we're doing something else, and everybody goes to the garden club and have a drink while you're doing juniors, and I said, oh, all right. And I really got quite excited about it as the garden. At 54 juniors to do in like 35 minutes, forget it. I'll never forget one little girl who was showing an English Cocker just this color. And she was a little tiny girl. It was before they had all the qualifications of 59 first in the class and stuff, and she probably won 2 or 3. She was showing an English Cocker this color, the dog I knew. The little girl didn't win the class under me, but she got pulled out for special consideration because she was was small enough, and she was down on her knees. And it was the Dunelm County Commissioner dog. And she was running around the dog, putting its feet the right way, and she got it all set. You don't stand still. She got it all set up. She put its tail up. And without even looking, she dropped the tail, and she reached around, and she folded this ugly ear. And I had to pull her out because she knew, because he had one of those field spaniel ears hung on like that. She knew that that was ugly, and she folded, and I had to pull her out. I can get all teary about it even today. But that's, you know, ears are a funny thing. In terriers, they worship them. They're really only flaps of skin, and I hate, like the devil, to see dogs rise or fall just on the business of an ear. They're not really that important in English Cockers. You don't get that many problems with the English Cockers. Sure, you get one that's hung on funny every once in a while, and you get one. Yeah, but if you've got a really pretty head and you're going to fuss with it just because of an ear, no. It's like that head or a slightly droopy eye. Oh, it's a gorgeous head. I wish his eye didn't. There's an eye that doesn't droop, but he's got an ugly head. So, throw out the baby with the bathwater. Yes, exactly.
If you had to pick one or two things to tell new people to watch in the current state of the breed, things that people watch the most.
I have to say one major thing to current people who are just getting into the breed, who have just brought a young puppy from a very good breeder, and they think the puppy is absolutely gorgeous. I will tell them that the cross they have to bear with this breed today is they must be socialized, because if they don't do it before their teeth come in, and if they don't get them to look up at them rather than looking at their feet, they are never going to make a show dog of the breed, because it's there. We raised probably some of the greatest show dogs in standard poodles that have ever been seen in this country. The reason we don't raise English Cockers today is that we could not raise an English Cocker to be a tenth the show dog that our poodles were, and we work 4 times as hard with the English Cocker. People that get a single puppy and they bought it from somebody, you know, super in the breed and so on, trimming anybody can help you with. Whether you've got a good one or not, anybody can help you with. Only you can help yourself on the business of having the puppy go and leave happily, know everything about it. The greatest person today who has succeeded where everybody else has failed in absolute getting inside a dog's head and teaching it what it must do and having it do it with happiness and alacrity, and it was a bitch, is Vicky Spice. What she has done with that bitch, who when she was 13 months old said, "Oh, I don't know whether I really like this or not." And that bitch is going strong today, and she's kept her top on, she's kept her showing and stuff. And what is she, 5? 5.5%. It's a dedication, and it's a they are. Really, look what you've done with your black dog, who is not the same dog that he was 6-8 months ago when I had him the other time, where he walked around looking at the floor and looking at my shoes and your shoes and never looked up. And she showed him the other day and I said, "It's got to be a new dog." Wasn't a new dog. Somebody in that family, you know, got each side of his head, but it's a very hard thing to do. You know that.
She does.
That's what I'd have to say would be the most important thing that I could say to somebody.
It is.
The other thing,
It's not a breed to just get.
they are not kennel dogs. The other thing is that when our secretary of our English Cocker Club, who I don't think we could run the club if we didn't have her, got out of American Cockers and got into English Cockers, she wrote and had published a letter. And in the letter she said she was getting out of American Cockers because they were full of heritable faults, and she was getting into a nice, good, clean breed like English Cockers. She didn't know what she was getting in for, because we have everything genetically wrong with our breed. Deafness, and hermaphrodites, and epilepsy, and hip dysplasia, and leg birthies, and testicle problems, and kidney problems. You know, PRA, you say, you mention it, you've got it all. So that when you're dealing with the breed, you've got to deal with it, which I hate, because I don't think you can breed dogs by a book. But you got to breed dogs knowing that you've got heritable problems to beware of and to check on. Even if you do breed from dogs that you know there are genetic problems in their background, because God, we've all had them. Knowing what you can do to weed out so that somewhere down the line we will have a breed that is freer of problems that we've dealt with. More?
Feet, bone.
In proportion to the size of the dog. New Standard's very good on that.
Yeah, because spindly feet and pancake feet just drive our spindly bone and
And what about
pancake feet.
red English Cockers that are great ones when they're a year and a half old and they don't have sense enough to stop and they get bigger or